Episode 2, Stranger in a Strange Land. Jade woke up to the smell of something burning. For a blissful 3 seconds, she thought yesterday had been a dream, a weird, elaborate, stress-induced hallucination brought on by too much isolation and too many rewatches of her favorite show. Then she heard the sound of frantic coughing from the kitchen, followed by a very apologetic voice saying, I'm sorry, I did not mean to make smoke." She bolted upright in bed, her untamed red hair forming what could only be described as a spectacular bird's nest around her head. Right, Willie. The alien from her TV show was in her apartment, living in her apartment, currently setting her apartment on fire, apparently. Jade scrambled out of bed, nearly tripping over the pile of laundry she still hadn't dealt with, and rushed to the kitchen. The scene that greeted her was like something out of a sitcom. Willie stood in front of her toaster, waving a dish towel at the smoke detector, which was beeping aggressively. The toaster itself was smoking, and what looked like the charred remains of a bagel sat on a plate nearby, black as coal and roughly the consistency of a hockey puck. "What happened?" Jade asked, reaching up to hit the silence button on the smoke detector. Willie looked at her with such genuine distress that her heart immediately melted, despite the lingering smell of burnt carbohydrates. "I wish to make breakfast for you, to thank you for your kindness. But I do not understand this device. I put bread inside as I observed you do last night with your dinner, but it became very hot and would not stop." Jade looked at the toaster, where the dial was turned all the way to its highest setting. She bit back a smile. "Did you turn the dial?" "I thought more heat would cook it faster," Willie admitted. This was incorrect thinking. Yeah, that's pretty much the opposite of how toasters work. Jade opened the kitchen window to let out the smoke, then gently took the towel from Willie's hands. But the thought was really sweet. No one's ever tried to make me breakfast before. Willie's face brightened considerably. "Truly? But you are very kind. Surely many people wish to make you breakfast." "My social life is basically non-existent," Jade said, pulling the cremated bagel out of the toaster with a pair of tongs. "The last person who cooked for me was my mum, and that was at Thanksgiving 3 years ago." She tossed the bagel in the trash, where it landed with an ominous thunk. Pretty sure that thing qualified as a lethal weapon. "I have failed at breakfast," Willie said sadly. "Hey, no, you didn't fail. You just had a learning experience. That's what we're calling kitchen disasters now. Learning experiences." Jade pulled open her refrigerator. "How about I teach you how things work, and we make breakfast together?" Willie's expression transformed from dejected to eager so quickly it was almost comical. "Yes, I would like this very much. I wish to learn everything about your world." And so began what Jade would later refer to as the Great Breakfast Tutorial of 2025. She started simple, showing Willie how to crack eggs. This led to a 10-minute discussion about Earth chickens, which somehow turned into Willie explaining the protein sources on his homeworld, which sounded both fascinating and slightly horrifying. "So you're telling me your people primarily ate rodents?" Jade asked, whisking the eggs with perhaps more vigor than necessary. "Rodents are plentiful and nutritious," Willie explained, watching her whisk with obvious fascination. "Though I admit, after tasting human food, I understand why you find this idea unpleasant. Your food has many flavors. The rodents were mostly just protein." "That might be the worst restaurant review I've ever heard," Jade said, pouring the eggs into the heated pan. "Mostly just protein. 1 star. Would not recommend." Willie laughed, a genuine sound of delight that made Jade's stomach do a small flip. She'd heard him laugh in the show, of course, but hearing it in person, in her tiny kitchen at 7:30 in the morning, was entirely different. It was real. It was here. She taught him how to use a spatula, how to tell when scrambled eggs were done, how to operate her coffee maker without creating either sludge or water barely tinted brown. Willie absorbed everything with the intensity of someone taking notes for a final exam. He asked questions about everything. Why did coffee need filters? What made bread rise? Why were eggs kept cold but then cooked hot? How did the refrigerator create coldness? By the time they sat down to eat their moderately successful breakfast, Jade's brain hurt from trying to explain appliances she'd never actually thought about before. "This is very good," Willie said, taking a bite of scrambled eggs. "You are excellent, teacher." "I'm really not," Jade said, dumping an ungodly amount of hot sauce on her eggs. "I'm mostly just making stuff up and hoping it sounds right. Like, I have no idea how a refrigerator actually works. Something about freon and compression, I think." "But you know how to use it," Willie pointed out. "That is what matters. Understanding the purpose is sometimes more important than understanding the mechanism." "That's actually pretty wise," Jade said. "Did you just make that up, or is that a visitor thing?" "I think I made it up," Willie said, looking pleased with himself. "Though sometimes I am not certain what are my thoughts and what are knowledge from." He gestured vaguely. "From the television show? It is confusing." Jade set down her fork. "Can I ask you something? About yesterday, when you said you could see my memories. Can you still do that?" Willie tilted his head, considering. "Not see, exactly. It is more like knowing. When I look at something I do not recognize, sometimes I will suddenly know what you call it and how it works. But I cannot read your thoughts if that worries you. Only memories that are relevant to what I am experiencing." "So you're not hearing me think about how good you look in the morning light right now?" The words were out before Jade could stop them. She immediately wanted to crawl under the table and live there forever. Her face went red enough to clash spectacularly with her hair. Willie, however, simply smiled. "No, I do not hear that thought. But I am glad you shared it with words instead. It is nice to be thought of as good looking. On my world, I was considered average at best." "Your world has weird beauty standards," Jade muttered into her coffee mug. They finished breakfast with easy conversations, and Jade found herself relaxing in a way she hadn't around another person in years. Maybe it was because Willie wasn't technically a person, or maybe it was because he was so genuinely curious about everything that he made even her boring life seem interesting. When she mentioned her data entry job, he asked detailed questions about what data was and why it needed entering, and who received the entered data. By the end, Jade had somehow made insurance claims processing sound almost exciting. Almost. After breakfast, Willie insisted on helping with dishes, which led to another round of explanations about dish soap and sponges and why you shouldn't use steel wool on non-stick pans. He was fascinated by the concept of soap. "So this removes food particles by creating a barrier between the grease and the water," he said, watching bubbles form in the sink with the wonder of a child seeing snow for the first time. "This is very clever." "I never thought about it that way, but yeah, I guess soap is pretty clever." Jade handed him a plate to dry. "You know, most guys I know hate doing dishes." "Why would someone hate this?" Willie asked, carefully drying the plate with a dish towel. "It is satisfying to make things clean, and the bubbles are pleasant." "I'm adding that to my list of reasons you're basically perfect," Jade said without thinking. "You have a list?" Willie looked delighted. "It's a mental list. A very long mental list that I've been compiling over several years of watching you on TV, and we're not going to talk about it anymore because it's embarrassing." "I do not think it is embarrassing," Willie said seriously. "I think it is nice that you notice good things about me. Most people notice what is strange or different. You noticed what is good." Jade had to turn back to the sink to hide the fact that she was definitely tearing up over dishwashing commentary. This was her life now, crying over alien observations about human nature while elbow deep in soapy water. Once the kitchen was clean, Jade realized she had a fairly significant problem. Willie was wearing the same clothes he'd arrived in, his visitor uniform from the show, and she couldn't exactly take him out in public looking like he'd just walked off a 1980s sci-fi set. Not that she was planning to take him out in public immediately, but eventually he'd need actual clothes. "Okay, so wardrobe situation," she said, eyeing his uniform. "We need to get you some regular clothes. Jeans, t-shirts, that kind of thing." Willie looked down at himself. "These clothes are not appropriate?" "They're very appropriate for a member of the visitor resistance, but less appropriate for 21st century Portland. People would have questions. Many questions. Possibly questions that involve authorities and examinations, and a whole lot of poking at you with things." "I do not wish to be poked," Willie said firmly. "Then we need to get you some normal clothes. The problem is, I can't exactly take you shopping looking like that, and I don't really know your sizes. I'm gonna have to guess." Jade pulled out her phone. "I can order stuff online and have it delivered." Willie moved closer, studying her phone with intense curiosity. "That is the device you were using last night, the one I appeared from?" "Not this one. That was my tablet. This is my phone, but they're similar." Jade woke up the screen and Willie gasped. "It has pictures. Moving pictures. How is this possible in such a small device?" What followed was an hour-long crash course in modern technology that left Jade's brain feeling like it had run a marathon. She tried to explain smartphones, the internet, Wi-Fi, cell towers, satellites, and digital communication to someone who came from a time, or at least a mindset, where none of those things existed. Willie grasped concepts with impressive speed, but each explanation led to 5 more questions. "So everyone in your world carries these devices that can communicate with anyone else instantly?" Willie asked, holding Jade's phone like it was a holy artifact. "Pretty much. I mean, not everyone. There are still people without phones, but yeah, most people. And you can access all of human knowledge through it?" "Well, all of human knowledge plus a truly disturbing amount of cat videos and arguments between strangers." Willie's brow furrowed. Why would strangers argue through this device? "That," Jade said, "is a question philosophers have been asking since 2007. I don't have a good answer. People are just kind of like that." She showed him how to navigate to a shopping website, which led to Willie becoming completely engrossed in the concept of online shopping. He couldn't believe that you could see pictures of items, select them, and have them delivered to your home without ever speaking to another person. "This seems very efficient, but also very lonely," he observed. "Welcome to my entire existence," Jade said. "Efficient and lonely. That should be my dating profile, though I don't have a dating profile, because that would require believing someone might want to date me." Willie looked up from the phone, his expression serious. "I think many people would wish to date you." "That's sweet, but you're basing that on memories from my brain, and my brain is notoriously bad at self-assessment." "I am basing it on spending time with you," Willie corrected. "You are intelligent and funny and kind. These are good qualities for dating, yes?" Jade's face heated up again. She was going to spend her entire life blushing at this rate. "Can we focus on getting you clothes before I spontaneously combust from embarrassment?" They spent the next hour selecting basic items: jeans, t-shirts, a hoodie, underwear, which led to another lengthy explanation about modern undergarments that made Jade want to dissolve into the floor, socks, and a pair of sneakers. Jade had to guess at sizes based on looking at Willie, which felt both necessary and slightly creepy. She tried to be subtle about it, but there was no subtle way to visually measure someone's inseam. "How do you know these will fit?" Willie asked. "I don't. I'm guessing. If they don't fit, we'll send them back and try again. That's the beauty of online shopping. Easy returns. Though explaining to customer service why we need to return jeans might be interesting." Sorry, the waste was fine, but they didn't account for alien physiology. Willie laughed. I do not think I have different physiology. I appear the same as humans, yes? You appear very same as humans, Jade agreed, then realized how that sounded. I mean, you know, in a normal, observational way, not in a weird way. It would not be weird, Willie said gently. You have seen me many times before. It is natural to notice how I look. I'm going to go ahead and process this order before I say something even more embarrassing, Jade muttered, clicking the purchase button. With clothes ordered for delivery tomorrow, Jade figured the next priority was food. Her refrigerator contained the usual disaster of a person who lived alone and had given up on adulting. Condiments, half a carton of questionable milk, some wilted lettuce, and approximately 17 different kinds of hot sauce. We need groceries, she announced. Real groceries. Human food that isn't takeout or cereal. I can eat cereal, Willie offered. You do not need to go to trouble. Willie, you can't live on cereal. You need actual nutrition. Vegetables and stuff. I need actual nutrition. I've been basically surviving on a diet of carbs and regret. Jade grabbed her phone again. I'll order delivery. You can help me pick out food. Introducing Willie to the modern grocery delivery app was like watching someone discover electricity. He was amazed that you could see pictures of food, select what you wanted, and have it brought to your home within hours. In my time, shopping for food required going to markets and carrying items, he said. Still works that way, actually. I just pay someone else to do the going and carrying part because I'm an antisocial hermit. They scrolled through produce options together, Willie asking questions about every single item. What was a kumquat? How did you eat an artichoke? Why were there so many kinds of apples? Jade answered as best she could, though she had to admit her knowledge of produce was limited to the green things I feel guilty about not eating. Willie was fascinated by the variety. Your world has so much abundance, he said softly. So many choices. On my world, we had limited resources. Everything was rationed. This, he gestured at the screen full of options. This is wonderful. Something in his voice made Jade's chest tighten. She'd never really thought about how privileged she was to live in a time and place with such easy access to food. Sure, she complained about being broke and having to budget, but she'd never actually gone hungry. Never had to ration or make do with limited resources. I probably take it for granted, she admitted, having all these choices. That is not wrong, Willie said. When you are surrounded by abundance, it becomes normal, but it is still beautiful. I think, he paused, thinking, I think seeing your world through my eyes might help you appreciate what you have. And maybe seeing it through your eyes will help me understand what I've been missing by hiding from it, Jade said quietly. Their eyes met, and for a moment something passed between them. Understanding, connection. The sense that maybe this impossible situation was happening for a reason. Jade cleared her throat. Right. So, food. We need food. They compiled a cart full of basics. Vegetables, fruits, chicken, rice, pasta, bread that Willie promised not to burn this time, eggs, milk, cheese, and approximately 17 different snack foods because Willie wanted to try everything. Jade added coffee and tea, then on impulse threw in ingredients for chocolate chip cookies. What are these? Willie asked, pointing at the cookie ingredients. Cookies. Sweet, baked goods. They're kind of a comfort food. I thought maybe I could teach you to bake, if you're interested. I am interested in learning everything, Willie said with such earnest enthusiasm that Jade wanted to hug him. She settled for adding extra chocolate chips to the cart instead. After placing the grocery order, Jade realized she'd been in her pajamas this entire time. Her very ratty, very unflattering pajamas that consisted of an oversized t-shirt with a faded Star Trek logo, and shorts that had seen better days approximately 5 years ago. "I should probably get dressed," she said. "Put on actual human clothes." "You look comfortable," Willie observed. "Is there a reason to change?" "Basic dignity, self-respect, the fact that I haven't showered in like 36 hours. "Ah, showering. Yes, this is important for human hygiene." Willie paused. "I should also shower, but I do not have other clothes to change into yet. Jade bit her lip, thinking, "I might have something. Hang on." She disappeared into her bedroom and started digging through her drawers. In the very back, she found what she was looking for, an oversized hoodie and a pair of sweatpants from her brief phase of trying to be a person who exercised. Both were comically large on her, which meant they might actually fit Willie. She brought them out. "These should work temporarily. They're clean, just really big. I went through a phase where I thought I'd start jogging. That lasted approximately 3 days before I remembered I hate jogging." Willie took the clothes gratefully. "Thank you. How do I use the shower?" "Right, another thing to explain." Jade led him to the bathroom and demonstrated how the shower worked, where the soap and shampoo were, how to adjust the temperature. She tried to be clinical about it, but there was something weirdly intimate about explaining shower logistics to someone. Someone who would be naked in her bathroom in approximately 5 minutes. "Do not make the water too hot," she warned. "It can burn. Start lukewarm and adjust from there." "I understand. Thank you, Jade." Willie closed the bathroom door, then Jade stood in the hallway for a moment, listening to the water start. There was a man, an alien person in her shower, using her soap. In her bathroom. This was her life now. She shook herself and headed to her bedroom to find actual clothes. Something presentable. Something that didn't look like she'd given up on life, even though she kind of had. She settled on jeans and a green sweater that at least made an effort, then attempted to do something with her hair. After 5 minutes of fighting with it, she gave up and pulled it into a messy bun. The red curls escaped in every direction, creating a sort of halo of chaos around her head. "Good enough," she told her reflection. "You're not trying to impress anyone. You're just existing in your apartment with your impossible alien house guest. This is fine. Everything is fine." Her reflection looked unconvinced. When Willie emerged from the bathroom 20 minutes later, Jade had to physically restrain herself from making an audible sound. Her oversized hoodie and sweatpants should have looked ridiculous on him. Instead, they made him look soft and approachable, his damp hair falling across his forehead in a way that made her fingers itch to brush it back. "The shower was wonderful," he said, smiling. "Much better than the sonic cleaners on the ship. This actually feels pleasant." "Sonic cleaners?" Jade asked, desperately trying to focus on the words and not on how good he looked in her clothes. "They vibrate at a frequency that removes dirt and bacteria. Very efficient, but not comfortable. Your water shower is much nicer." "Add running water to the list of things I take for granted," Jade muttered. Willie moved closer, and she caught the scent of her shampoo in his hair, lavender and mint. It smelled different on him, better somehow. "Your shower is now available," he said, "if you wish to use it." "Right. Yes, showering. Basic human necessity." Jade practically fled to the bathroom. She stood under the hot water and tried to collect her thoughts. This was day 2 of Willie being in her apartment, and she was already having trouble remembering what her life was like before. How did she fill her days? What did she think about? How did she exist in this space without someone else to share it with? The scariest part was how natural it felt, how easy. Willie had been here less than 24 hours, and already she'd fallen into a rhythm with him. Making breakfast together, explaining technology, shopping for groceries online, sharing space like they'd been doing it for years instead of hours. It should have been awkward, should have been uncomfortable. Instead, it felt like something clicking into place. Jade finished her shower, got dressed, and emerged to find Willie sitting on the couch with her tablet, his face scrunched in concentration. "What are you doing?" she asked. "I am trying to learn about your world," he said, not looking up. "You said this device has access to information. I wish to understand the time that has passed since my time. You said the show was made in 1983? It is now 2025. That is 42 years. Many things must have changed." Jade's heart swelled. Of course Willie would spend his free time trying to educate himself. Of course he'd want to understand rather than just exist in confusion. "Do you want help?" she offered. "I could show you the important stuff. The major events and changes." Willie looked up, his face brightening. "Yes, please. I have questions about many things." What followed was possibly the most condensed history lesson Jade had ever attempted. She tried to explain the fall of the Soviet Union, the rise of the internet, 9/11s, smartphones, social media, climate change, the global pandemic, and about 36 other major events and shifts. Willie listened with rapt attention, asking insightful questions that often made Jade think about things in ways she never had before. "So people carry these devices that track their location and share their personal information with companies?" Willie asked, looking troubled. "This does not concern them." "I mean, it concerns some people, but mostly we just kind of accept it because we like the convenience. Which, yeah, probably says something not great about humanity." "It says you trust easily," Willie said. "That is not a bad thing, though perhaps trust should be given more carefully." "You would know about that," Jade said softly. "Trusting the wrong people, your own people." Willie's expression grew distant. "Yes, my people were not trustworthy. They came to your world with false promises, but humans also trusted when perhaps they should have questioned. It is a balance. Trust too little, and you are alone. Trust too much, and you are betrayed." "What made you decide to trust humans?" Jade asked. "To betray your own people for ours?" Willie was quiet for a moment, thinking. "I saw kindness. Genuine kindness, not strategic kindness. Julie and the others, they did not help me because it benefited them. They helped because it was right. And I thought, if these humans can be kind to an enemy, then perhaps they are worth fighting for. Perhaps they are better than my people, who only saw your world as a resource to exploit." "You're a good person, Willie," Jade said, "or good alien. Good being. Whatever the correct term is." "I try to be good," Willie said simply. "That is all anyone can do. Try." They spent the rest of the morning on the couch together, Jade showing Willie videos and articles, trying to catch him up on 4 decades of human progress and chaos. He was particularly fascinated by space exploration. "You have sent machines to other planets," he marveled, watching a video of the Mars rover. "You explore your solar system now." "We're trying. It's slow going. Turns out space is really big and really hard. But you try. That is what matters." Willie watched the rover footage with obvious longing. "I miss the stars. On the ship, I could see them always. Here, inside, I cannot see them." Jade felt a pang of sympathy. Of course, he missed the stars. He was from space, an alien trapped in a second-floor apartment in Portland, Oregon, about as far from his element as possible. "When it gets dark, we can go outside," she offered. "There's a courtyard behind the building. You can see some stars, though not many because of light pollution. That's another thing we've kind of messed up. But some..." Willie turned to her with such hope in his eyes that Jade felt her chest tighten. "Truly, we can go outside?" "Once your new clothes arrive tomorrow, yeah. I mean, you could go out in those sweats, but people might wonder why you're wearing my clearly women's athletic wear." I do not care what people think, Willie said, but I do not wish to cause problems for you, so I will wait for the new clothes. The grocery delivery arrived around 1, which led to another round of Willie being amazed by modern convenience. The delivery driver left bags by the door, never seeing who they were for, never requiring human interaction. You truly can live your entire life without seeing other people, Willie observed as they unpacked the groceries. That's the dream, Jade said, then caught herself. Or it was the dream. I don't know anymore. Having you here, it's making me realize how isolated I've been, how much I've been hiding. Willie carefully placed eggs in the refrigerator. Why do you hide? You are wonderful. The world should see you. The world is full of people who are better at peopling than I am, Jade said. I'm awkward and weird, and I have no idea how to do normal human things like small talk or dating or any of that stuff. It's easier to just stay here with my shows and my books and not deal with rejection. But if you never try, you will never know if someone might accept you, Willie pointed out. Okay, that's fair. But counterpoint, if I never try, I also never have to deal with someone telling me I'm not good enough, which has happened multiple times. So, Willie stopped unpacking and turned to face her fully. Who said this to you? That you are not good enough? This person was wrong. Multiple people, actually. There was a guy in high school who asked me out as a joke. Then there was a date in college that lasted approximately 50 minutes before the guy literally got up and left. Said I was too intense, too weird, talked about sci-fi too much. Jade shrugged, trying to act like it didn't still hurt. So I figured, you know what? Forget it. I'll just be alone. At least fictional characters can't reject me. Willie reached out and took her hand, the gesture so gentle and unexpected that Jade froze. They were fools, he said seriously, to not see your value, to not appreciate your passion and knowledge and kindness. I think talking about science fiction is interesting. I think your intensity is beautiful, and you are not weird, you are unique. That is different. Jade stared at their joined hands. His fingers were warm, slightly calloused, completely real. You have to say that. You're basically living in my brain. I say it because it is true, Willie insisted. I have seen your memories, yes, but I have also spent time with you, the real you, and I think you are wonderful. You've known me for like 24 hours. Sometimes 24 hours is enough. They stood there in her tiny kitchen, surrounded by grocery bags, holding hands like it was the most natural thing in the world. Jade's heart was doing complicated gymnastics in her chest. We should finish unpacking, she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. Yes, Willie agreed, but he didn't let go of her hand immediately. But first, I want you to know something. I am glad I came here, to your world, to your home. Even though it is confusing and strange, I am glad, because I met you. Jade's eyes stung with sudden tears. I'm glad too, even though this makes no sense and probably violates several laws of physics. The best things often make no sense, Willie said with a small smile. They finished unpacking groceries, and Jade tried to explain the purpose of each item. Willie was particularly confused by yogurt. It is milk, but solid, but also not cheese. He examined the container like it might hold the secrets of the universe. It's milk that's been fermented with bacteria, healthy bacteria. That sounds gross when I say it out loud, but it's actually good. You eat bacteria on purpose? Technically, you're covered in bacteria right now. We all are. Most bacteria are harmless or helpful. Willie looked down at himself in alarm. I am covered in tiny creatures. Oh boy. Okay, we're not ready for the microbiome conversations. Let's just say yes, but it's fine. Everyone has them. They're helpful. Moving on. Willie didn't look entirely convinced, but accepted this with the same trust he seemed to give all of Jade's explanations. For lunch, Jade made sandwiches, which involved teaching Willie about deli meat and condiments and why you don't put peanut butter on turkey. But both are food, Willie protested. Why not together? Because some food combinations are crimes against nature. That's just a rule. They ate on the couch, and Jade introduced Willie to the concept of streaming services. She showed him how much television had changed since 1983. The explosion of content, the different genres, the special effects that made his show look charmingly dated in comparison. Willie watched a trailer for a modern sci-fi show with impressive CGI aliens. These creatures look very real. How is this made? Computer graphics. All digital. They can create basically anything now. But they are not real. Not actors in costumes. Nope. All fake. Made by artists and computers. Willie was quiet for a moment. I think I prefer my way. Real people in costumes. It feels more honest somehow. I mean, you were a real person in a costume, Jade pointed out. Or you were until you became a real alien in a real costume. This whole situation has destroyed my understanding of what's real. If I can touch it, it is real, Willie said practically. He reached over and gently touched her hand. You are real, I am real, this is real, that is enough. Jade looked at where his fingers rested against her skin. Such a simple touch, but it sent electricity up her arm. You're surprisingly good at philosophy for someone from a TV show. Perhaps the TV show is more real than you thought, Willie suggested. That idea was too big and too strange to contemplate, so Jade did what she did best, changed the subject. Want to watch a movie? She asked. I could show you how cinema has evolved. We could watch something from the 80s and then something modern, compare and contrast. I would like that very much, Willie said. They spent the afternoon having an impromptu film festival. Jade showed him E.T. first, which made Willie cry during the goodbye scene. The alien just wishes to go home, he said, wiping at his eyes. He does not belong on Earth. He is alone. Are you feeling like that? Jade asked softly. Alone? Like you don't belong? Willie considered this. Sometimes, but also not. Because I am with you, and you make me feel welcome. So perhaps I am not like E.T., perhaps I am like the boy who befriends him, finding connection in an unexpected place. If you're Elliot, does that make me E.T.? Jade asked. Because I'm absolutely the weird alien in this scenario. You're the kind one, making friends. Then we are both aliens, Willie decided. Both strange and unusual. Both looking for connection. They watched movies until dinner time, and Jade taught Willie how to order food delivery from actual restaurants. He was astounded that you could have hot, prepared meals brought to your door from establishments miles away. Your world is very focused on convenience, he observed. Yeah, we've kind of optimized ourselves into isolation, Jade admitted. Everything is designed so you never have to interact with another human if you don't want to, which is great for people with anxiety like me, but also probably not super healthy. Perhaps you need convenience, because your world is very busy, Willie suggested. Everyone seems to be rushing always, working always. These devices, he gestured to her phone, they mean you are never away from work, never at rest. You're not wrong. The whole work-life balance thing is kind of a disaster. On my world, we worked because we had to, Willie said, for survival. But there was also time for rest, for community, for being with others. I think perhaps your world has forgotten this balance. Look at you, being all insightful about modern society after one day. Sometimes outside perspective is most clear, Willie said. They ordered Thai food, and Willie experienced his first taste of pad Thai and curry. The curry was apparently much spicier than he expected, which led to a panicked few minutes of him drinking approximately a gallon of milk while Jade apologized profusely. "I should have warned you about the spice level," she said, watching him gulp water after finishing the milk. "It is okay," Willie gasped. "It was delicious before my mouth caught fire. I will try again with less spice next time." "There's gonna be a next time? You're willing to risk Thai food again after that?" "Of course. How else will I learn what I enjoy?" Willie set down the water glass. Pain is part of learning sometimes. That's either very wise or very concerning, and I'm not sure which. After dinner, Jade remembered her promise to take Willie outside to see the stars. She found a jacket that almost fit him, bundled herself into her own coat, and led him down the stairs and out to the courtyard behind her apartment building. It was a clear night, cold and crisp. The kind of November evening that hinted at the winter to come. The courtyard was empty, just a small square of concrete with a few sad plants and a bench. Above them, the sky was washed out by light pollution from the city, but a few brave stars managed to shine through. Willie tilted his head back, staring upward with an expression of pure longing. They are dim here, not like seeing them from space, but they are still beautiful. "Sorry the view isn't better," Jade said. "Light pollution has kind of ruined stargazing in cities." "Do not apologize. You cannot control the lights of a city," Willie continued, staring upward. "Do you know the constellations?" "Some. I'm not an expert or anything." "Will you show me what you know?" They sat on the bench, and Jade pointed out the few constellations she could identify. The Big Dipper, Orion's Belt, Cassiopeia. Willie listened with rapt attention, occasionally asking questions about the mythology behind the names. "Humans have always looked to the stars and seen stories," he observed. "We did this too, on my world, created patterns and meanings in the lights. Perhaps all intelligent species do this. Try to find connection and purpose in the vastness." "That's kind of beautiful," Jade said. "The idea that looking up and wondering is universal." "I think wonder is universal," Willie said. "The desire to understand, to learn, to find meaning. These are not human traits or visitor traits. These are traits of consciousness itself." They sat in comfortable silence, looking at the stars together. Jade was acutely aware of how close they were sitting, how their shoulders were almost touching, how she could hear his breathing in the quiet night. "Thank you," Willie said softly, "for bringing me out here, for showing me your world, for being kind to a strange alien who appeared in your living room." "Thank you for being exactly who you are," Jade replied, "for being real, for being here." Willie turned to look at her, and in the dim light from the courtyard lamp, his eyes were warm and deep. "Where else would I wish to be?" The moment stretched between them, full of potential and possibility. Jade felt heart hammering against her ribs. This was the moment in movies where something happened, where someone leaned in, where the tension broke and transformed into something else. But Jade had never been good at moments, at reading signals, at knowing what to do with the feelings swirling in her chest. So instead, she stood up abruptly. "We should go inside. It's getting cold. I don't want you to freeze on your second day in the 21st century." If Willie was disappointed by the interruption, he didn't show it. He simply stood and followed her back inside, back up the stairs, back to the apartment that was starting to feel less like just hers and more like theirs. As they got ready for bed, Jade couldn't help but think about how much had changed in just 2 days. Willie had gone from a character on her screen to a person in her space. Someone who asked questions and learned eagerly and said things that made her feel seen in ways she'd never experienced before. She brushed her teeth while Willie examined her bookshelf again, pulling out titles and asking about them. She answered his questions about fantasy novels and science fiction series, about authors and genres, and why she had 17 different books about dragons. Dragons are cool, she explained. That's literally the entire reason. They're big, magical flying lizards. What's not to love? Your world does not have dragons, Willie pointed out. Hence why we write about them. We create in fiction what we wish existed in reality. Willie replaced the book carefully. Is that why you watched my show so many times? Because you wished I existed in reality? Jade froze in the doorway to her bedroom, toothbrush dangling from her hand. That's a very direct question. I am curious. You have spent much time thinking about me, wishing I was real. Now I am real. Does this feel like your wish came true? I don't know, Jade admitted, because what I wished for was... She trailed off, not sure how to finish that sentence without sounding pathetic. Was what? Willie prompted gently. Was connection, Jade finally said. Someone who understood me. Someone who was kind and curious and made me feel less alone. I thought those qualities existed in you, in the character you. I didn't think I could find them in a real person, because real people are complicated and messy and usually disappointing. I am also complicated and messy, Willie said. I am real now. Perhaps I will also disappoint. You haven't yet, Jade said softly. It has only been 2 days. Yeah, but they've been a really good 2 days. The best 2 days I've had in a long time. Willie smiled, that gentle smile that made her chest ache. For me as well. Even though everything is strange and confusing, these have been good days. Because of you. They stood there in her small apartment, looking at each other across the space of the living room, both feeling the weight of something significant building between them. Good night, Willie, Jade finally said. Good night, Jade. Thank you for teaching me about your world today. Thank you for wanting to learn. Jade retreated to her bedroom and closed the door. She leaned against it, listening to Willie settle onto the couch bed, hearing the rustle of blankets and the creak of springs. 2 days. She'd known him for 2 days, and already he felt essential. Already she couldn't imagine her apartment without him in it. Already she was falling for someone who shouldn't exist, who defied every law of physics and probability, who had somehow become the most real thing in her life. This was either the best thing that had ever happened to her, or the most elaborate form of self-delusion ever created by a lonely brain. Jade suspected it was both. She climbed into bed and stared at her ceiling, thinking about stargazing and hand-holding, and the way Willie looked at her like she was someone worth knowing. Outside, the city hummed with its usual night sounds. Inside, an impossible alien slept on her couch, warm and safe and real. Tomorrow, they would continue navigating this strange situation. Tomorrow, Willie's new clothes would arrive, and he could look less like a visitor from another time and more like someone who belonged in this world. Tomorrow, they would take more steps toward understanding what his presence here meant and what they were supposed to do about it. But tonight, Jade let herself feel something she thought she'd given up on. Hope. Connection. The possibility that maybe, just maybe, the universe had decided to give her exactly what she needed, even if it came in the most impossible package. In the living room, Willie lay on the couch bed, thinking about stars and stories and the strange, wonderful human who had welcomed him so completely. He thought about her laugh, her kindness, the way she blushed when he complimented her. He thought about how natural it felt to exist in her space, learning about her world, sharing meals and conversations and comfortable silences. He thought about her wish, for connection, for understanding, for someone who saw her. Willie made a wish of his own, sending it out to whatever cosmic force had brought him here. Let me be worthy of her kindness. Let me be the connection she needs. Let this impossible thing become something real and lasting. The apartment settled into quiet. Two people from impossible circumstances, both hoping for the same thing. That maybe, against all odds, they had found exactly what they'd been missing. And maybe, just maybe, this was only the beginning.